Hi, my name is Matthew Bellisario. Thanks for coming by the BellisarioSonic YouTube channel from the heart of the Deep South on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama, where we talk about music, records, do record reviews, interviews, and much more. If you're into jazz, please subscribe to this channel. You're going to see a lot of new releases reviewed that you probably won't see on most other channels, and that's something I'm going to talk about today. Kind of a rant video because this is something that really grates on my nerves I'm going to talk about today. And that is the supporting of working artists, working jazz artists, and the support of independent record labels, which I really am passionate about because I'm passionate about keeping jazz alive. And we don't do that by just buying old records. I mean, the name of this video should be, are you a jazz fan or are you just a record collector? Because there's a difference. Nothing wrong with collecting records. I got a ton of them sitting here. But what am I collecting records for? It's to listen to them. It's for the music. You see this, people have this saying all over the vinyl community, it's the music, stupid. But really, for most of these people, it's not about the music. It's about this nostalgic idea of record collecting, and it's mostly middle-aged men and above, 40 years old and above. And yes, there are more young people collecting records now than have been in quite some time. But who are the real people that are keeping jazz alive? Is it just those guys that are buying the Art Blakey reissue or the Miles Davis reissue for the nth time, the limited edition? 90% of the jazz market when it comes to record sales is reissues, which is, people are going to take this out of context. So if you're going to comment on this video, wait until the end. Watch the whole thing so you don't take me out of context here. I love reissues. I love the archival releases of these great bands, Bill Evans or what have you. But that's not all I listen to, and that's not all that I buy. For a lot of people, and for most people that are in the vinyl community, they talk about jazz, they're talking about vintage records, and they're talking about reissues 90% of the time, where you've got all these independent jazz labels that are putting out fantastic jazz right now. And that's part of the reason why I think a lot of young people don't get into jazz, is because we are not promoting working jazz musicians as much as we could be. There are a lot of great records. I was just talking to Corey Weeds, owner of Cellar Music Group, and this is one of the best freaking jazz records you're ever going to hear, with the greatest musicians that you're ever going to hear. These guys are on par with all the old guys, in my opinion. That's my opinion, okay? This was a live 2LP record, recorded live. You've got Mike LaDon on piano. You've got Eric Alexander, probably the greatest tenor saxophone player playing right now, or at least among the top. Alexander Claffey on bass, wonderful player. Jeremy Pelt on trumpet, another fantastic musician. Vincent Herring playing the alto. That guy is freaking smokes. He's awesome. And then you got Kenny Washington on drums, a legend. But, are these people going out, rushing out and buying this? Oh no, we got to get the new freaking Miles Davis limited edition, freaking whatever it is, colored blue copy, 5,000 copies, all this crap that's all consumerism when it comes down to it. And you've got something like this that's a limited edition, not intentionally so, but only so because they only make so many of them because they know that they're not going to sell. There's still, I'm not sure how many of these were made. I think maybe there was 500 of these made. There's still plenty left. Why are people buying this? Are they really jazz fans? Come on. You've got this Gerald Cannon record that came out. This dude is a living legend. This guy's fantastic. These should be sold out. I mean, this is a fantastic album. All the new releases. I released this Make Crawl, Magic of Consistency. This guy is fantastic. This is like a mixture of bebop and modern jazz music. A phenomenal record nobody's going to hear about. I review him on this channel because I love the music. What about this Cristiano Giardini album, Odisseia, on the Bird Box label? This is freaking awesome. A freaking awesome album. A great saxophone player. You've got Paolo Recchia on the alto saxophone, who's phenomenal. Luca Manuzza on piano, unbelievable. Kim Bianucco on double bass, and Sasha Mashin, fantastic drummer. This should be, people should be buying, this should be flying off the shelves. Limited edition, numbered. You know, this really just upsets me because jazz music is a living tradition. It's not just going back and listening to the old records, as important as that is. Because if you want to understand where the new people are getting their ideas from, or at least many of them, they're getting them from the old records. But they're making new music, they're writing new compositions, or they're doing a great job of doing some great standards like this album. Wonderful. This is great playing, great tunes. They've got the guts to go out and record Stablemates, Caravan, Bolivia, great tunes, their own way. Nobody, was buying these records. Instead, we're worried about the latest Blue Note box set, of which we've got so much of this stuff now that all of these reissues, there's so many different labels now that are putting this stuff out in mass, and yet nobody's paying attention to the small independent record labels that are putting out absolutely fantastic records. As I've said before on this channel, that less than 4% of all record sales fall into the jazz genre. This is a travesty in and of itself. But the virtuosity and musicianship required to play jazz well really lends itself to me saying that jazz music is the greatest genre of music that exists. That's my opinion. Some people will disagree. Leave your comments. But the virtuosity and musicianship needed to play this music well is a much higher level than any other type of music, including classical. That, you heard me say it. That being said, how much of these 4% of record sales are new releases like these I just showed you? Probably less than 10%, because the rest of them are all probably reissues that people are buying. And again, I'm not against buying the reissues. I've got many of them in my collection, but it's not all that I purchase. And for most people, that's what jazz is to them. It's 1950s, early 60s stuff, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, you get people to stretch out into the avant-garde stuff and fusion and that kind of thing. All that's great stuff. Great music. Love all those musicians. But man, if we're going to keep jazz alive, if it's going to continue on, we have to support these working musicians that are fantastic musicians. I don't care what anybody says. The records I just showed you are fantastic. If you like jazz, I'll just come out and say it. If you like jazz and you don't like this record, you don't like jazz. This is freaking awesome. How do you not like this? How does this not fly off the shelves? Leave your comments. So, if I had to guess, probably, and I don't know the exact numbers, but if I had to guess, I would say 10 to 20% of that 4%, max 20%, are new releases. And then people cry about that, oh, this album, which I'm getting ready to review on very soon, this album here on CD that came out in 2024, I believe, 2024 on Crisscross Jazz. This is a fantastic album. I'm getting ready to review this. Unbelievable piano trio here. Intense playing. Is anybody going to buy this? Then people will complain that it's not on vinyl. Well, you know what? Maybe if you guys were buying more new releases, they would put it on vinyl. If you bought what was available, which is a lot of good stuff coming out on vinyl on these independent labels that I review on this channel regularly, if more people were buying them, more stuff would be on vinyl that's new releases. Otherwise, it's too expensive for a small little record company to go out and put everything on vinyl. It's just impossible. The cost is just too much. And so why is a independent record label going to go put out 1,000, press 1,000 copies when they're going to sell like maybe 100? And that includes them schlepping them out to the show to sell them at the table. While all these reissues, they make thousands of them, right? These big companies. And again, you hear all this stuff about, all this garbage, we want to support these small companies, but they don't. They're buying from these big conglomerates. Blue Note, again, great music, but they're owned by a big company. All these Major reissue companies are owned by huge corporations that own all the rights to the music. And yet you've got guys like this that are trying to survive, make a living off of playing music now as a jazz musician, and nobody gives a damn. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to it. So it tells me that most people who buy records, jazz records, they're not real jazz fans. They're more nostalgists. They want to collect. I've got the latest Art Blakey reissue. I've got the limited edition one-step pressing. They only made 500 of those, and I've got one. It's almost like, this kind of, I'm going to boast about, I've got one of these type things. I can't stand that kind of a record collector. That's just me. Leave your comments. Open game here. It also tells me that those who are buying jazz records are not really concerned about supporting working musicians for the most part. It tells me that the fascination for most record buyers is more about the medium than it is about the music. And yeah, you're going to hear that say that from me, who has reviews mostly vinyl records, which, all things being equal, if there's a vinyl record, I would much rather have it on vinyl than I would on any other physical medium. So I will definitely say that. But for me, collecting records, CDs, whether it was cassettes back in the day or any physical medium, it's not about having the thing that I can put on my shelf. It's about saying, this is a damn good record and I want you to listen to this, man. This is cool. Whether it's an old record or a new record, it's about sharing the music. Music's kind of a community thing. I love when people come over here and I'm able to play the records for them and share it. And the other way that I'm able to share the music I love is on this channel. And that's the only reason I do it. And I think that's probably the reason why a lot of people don't like me, is because I don't care about whether or not, if I play the music for you guys, if it gets demonetized. I don't really care. And to me, if the record, this guy gets the money for the video that I used his music on, I'm happy for that. I'm glad the guy gets paid and gets some royalty money off of his music. I don't have a problem with that. So for me, this is a passion. If you can't already tell, it's a passion about sharing good music with you guys. And it's a love for jazz that I want to keep the legacy going. It's the whole reason why I directed the documentary that I did here in Birmingham. It's because I want jazz to continue on, and I want to encourage these jazz musicians to go out and keep putting out their own stuff, keep recording great albums. And hopefully, if we can support these working musicians, I often hear these people that are getting older, in their 70s, and they've got this huge record collection, and their wife doesn't care anything about it. A lot of times their kids don't care anything about it. And I think a lot of this is because it's this nostalgic thing that people get stuck into, and their wives or even their kids can't relate to that because it's a different era that you're going back to. And I'm not saying that young people can't get into older music, but listen to what I'm saying. If you've got a big record collection, you've got kids that are somewhat into music, and all you listen to are dead people, it's hard to get people excited about that. Oh, when was this guy alive? Oh, he died in 1956. And it's like, okay, and they might give it a listen. But if you've got a new artist that's alive, that you can go see, that you can look up online and see them performing live online on YouTube or whatever other medium you want to go on the internet, whatever website, you can actually engage with these people and see these people. And you can actually support a living, working artist, and you can actually have something tangible for them to actually engage with. So that's important, because I think if some of these people would think a little bit, oh, my kids aren't really interested in my old jazz records. What am I going to do with these? What's going to happen to them when they die? They're going to get sold at a garage sale or something. Maybe the kids might be a little more interested if you were actually listening to current artists. Hey, check out this freaking awesome album here called That's What's Up, Heavy Hitters. Come over here and listen to this. These guys are playing right now. These guys are freaking kick ass. And you play this, And they hear it, well, yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll plan a trip and we'll go see these guys or see one of these musicians play in New York or Chicago or wherever they're going to play next. Maybe we'll try to make that jazz festival and go see some of these guys, and see if we can get them to sign one of our records, all that kind of cool stuff. Maybe then the kids will be a little bit more interested in the older records. Oh, well, this is pretty cool. So, who was Eric Alexander into? Who's Mike Ladon into? Where do those guys get their inspiration from? Oh, Thelonious Monk. Oh, Charlie Parker. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So now you've got this living connection that goes back to some of these older artists that people can get into. Otherwise, for them, it's kind of this, it's a mental thing. It's like, yeah, you guys listen to all your old fogey stuff. We're going to listen to all the new stuff, but they don't realize that there's awesome, great jazz musicians like this playing right now. And so anyway, it's kind of a long rant here. But are we collecting music to listen to music, or are we just collecting records? Something to think about, because, people that just collect records don't interest me too much. That's me. Again, leave your comments. Open game here. These new musicians, the musicians that are currently making records now, are important for the survival of jazz. Otherwise, it's going to become a museum piece. We can all go listen to our, 1956 Art Blakey record or our Monk record, and just think about the good old days of jazz. They're never going to return. Nobody's as good as all these old guys. There's no good players anymore. Jazz is dead. All that BS. It's not dead. There's a lot of good players out there, and a lot of great albums being made. So think about being a music collector rather than a record collector. Think about supporting these independent jazz labels that, quite frankly, it takes a long time for these to even make money. And a lot of times, it's not the only business they have. So you may be thinking that, I'm implying not to buy any Blue Note reissues or any of that kind. That's obviously not what I'm saying. So again, don't take me out of context. Before you comment, make sure you watch this to the end. I love those, but that's not all that I love. And that's not what jazz is right now, today. And so if you really love jazz, you really want to keep jazz alive, and you want to support the tradition of jazz as it goes forward, support these independent record labels. Go buy these records. Go listen to them. Take the time to go listen to some of these online. You got streaming now. You can go on and listen to these albums. That's how I found all these great albums. Even if they're not on record, man, I'm still going to get them on CD. Like this, I'm going to review this. Is freaking kick ass. The piano playing on this smokes. All these guys are fantastic. Celebration of McCoy Tyner. Benito Gonzalez. That record sitting back here. Well, where's my point? Pointing back here. This Benito Gonzalez album on vinyl, by the way. You can still get them. There's still a few left. This is a kick-ass album. How many of those got sold compared to the latest Miles Davis, Birth of the Blue? How many? Comparatively, well, something to think about. Are you a true jazz fan, or are you just a record collector? Good question to ask. We'll see you next time. Happy listening to everybody out there. Leave your comments. We'll talk soon. Take care.